of 5 areas that you're probably so confident in that you don't think twice about it.
You mean activities or?
Anything you do that like comes so naturally to you. Whatever area where you are the samurai, where you are the #1 guy.
I'd like to have a lot more of them, that's for sure.
Yeah, well. There's probably at least one that you've been taking for granted. And you may have been taking it for granted because it's something that society may trivialize. Or it may be something that, like I said, you're taking for granted because you're so familiar with it. Or it, I don't know. I don't want to give you guys too many negative suggestions to work on. But yeah, take a minute. Think of a couple of strengths. I'm sure almost everybody has 5, and if you don't have 5, that means there's just a couple that you're not thinking about. They'll come to you later. And just pick 1 or 2 of those. And out of those 1 or 2 strengths, think about how really good you are at them. And the way you can tell how really good you are at them is how comfortable you feel doing these things, or how much pleasure you get from doing these things. One of the great things is there are areas that sports, for example, or playing music, some people are terrible at, but they really enjoy it, and they don't care they're terrible. I know a guy who loves playing basketball, and he is not very good. And he will even admit he's not very good. And he has actually even told me that not only is he not very good, and not only does he know he's not very good, he knows if he put the work in, he'd be better. But he's just not interested. He likes going out, he likes playing games, likes meeting some friends, occasionally doing a pickup game, and just playing the game. And he doesn't even care about his skill level, he likes the interaction of it. And that gives him absolute pleasure. So he doesn't even necessarily have to be a master at it or really good at it. He's just reached a level where he feels great about it. And, that's no small thing. Funny thing is you meet a lot of guys, these days a lot of computer guys, and they're very smart. And you put them in front of a computer and pow, they're like Mr. Spock. They are on top of this thing. There's no question that's unanswered. These guys have not only absolute skill, but absolute confidence, but they don't take that step to generalize that out. Because if you can master, I'm not a computer savvy, C++ or whatever the flavor of the month is now, but if you can master that strange bit of Hogwarts wizardry, there's no reason on earth why you can't generalize out that ability into another area. But you should take pleasure and you should take confidence in the things you are good at, even if they're dumb little things. If you ever hung around sailors, you'll know they take inordinate pleasure in the ability of tying knots. And now I can tie 1 knot, actually not so well apparently, but I'll get the book. I'll read up on it. I'll talk to one of my sailor friends. But they'll sit around all day with rope, and they will practice knots, and they will argue about whether a Portuguese bowline is a better knot than a Spanish bowline, and to them it's an enormous source of pleasure. And in that society, that's given. If you're really good at knots and you're around like old-time sailors, that's serious stuff. So so it's important not to sell yourself short and to give yourself credit and take pleasure for the things you do well. And if you can do that, and you really begin to allow yourself to expand into those areas, it might be a natural question just being to wonder, well, how can I expand this into other areas where I don't feel as confident? Nobody is either confident or unconfident. I think hopefully by now we've established everybody has confidence and competence in some areas and not others. And there are actually even formulas. Before I go too far, I'll touch briefly on the competence formula, which somebody actually sat down one day and one of the 4 phases of how you become really, really good at something. And so the first one is unconscious incompetence.
You misspelled unconscious.
Yeah, I'm not even remotely surprised.
A C, got a C.
Oh, right you are, yes. Well, you can see I am unconsciously in.
SCI.
SC.
Oh, right, okay.
C-O-N-S-C-I-O-U.
I'm a good speller on paper, really, I am.
You really know how to spell that, it's just that you were writing unconscious incompetence and decided to.
Yeah, it was an example, exactly, yeah.
Just so you could hit home the point.
Yeah, so, yeah, well, actually, I was a good speller until I started writing stuff on Microsoft Word. And, you know, if you write quickly, it corrects the spelling on the fly.
Right.
And now I look like I'm completely dyslexic. I can't tell my vowels from my confidence. Okay.
U-N-S-C-I.
Unconscious
There you
incompetence.
go. Hey!
Jeez, okay. So unconscious incompetence, as you can tell by my example, means you don't know, and you don't know you don't know. And then when you guys start picking on me about my spelling, then we get into conscious incompetence, which is where either you know that you don't know it, or the people around you will point out to you you don't know it, and that makes you aware that you don't know. So then I figure, okay, I gotta stop using Word, I gotta get a dictionary, I gotta learn how to spell. And when I start to work on that, I become consciously competent. And that means I know it, but I know it at an unconscious level. So if, for example, you're talking about driving, you first learn to drive, and as you're learning to drive, you turn the wheel this way to do that, you do this thing, you push on that, and each one of these things works, but you have to do it consciously. And that's student driver face, which is where everything is running through the conscious part of your mind, and the truck is coming, okay, I better brake. And it's a very conscious process. So you know it, but you're thinking about it. Or if you're a kid, you're learning how to spell, you're learning the alphabet, and you know the letter A, but you have to say A, and then you take 3 lines. You know the letter B, but you have to consciously think about it. And it's a stage of learning. If whatever you're learning, from spelling to karate to playing the piano, there's a phase you go through where the information enters consciously, and you work on it and work on it. And the more you work on it, the more it sort of filters down into your unconscious competence. And that's the Sanskrit spell. You're driving and you respond to what's going on around you. The process has been internalized down to your subconscious mind to the point that when you see the truck coming, you don't have to think, okay, truck, brake, move my foot, step up. It's just you see the truck, hit the brake. And it begins to come at an unconscious level. It's still roughly the same process going on, but it's been fully digested, and it's now become a part of you. The same thing with spelling, at least up until Microsoft Word came along, where at first you'd be writing, and you'd have to think of how to spell every word. But then as you get facility and experience and practice, it begins to dig itself down into your unconscious mind, your subconscious mind, to the point that you don't consciously have to think about it. And so you just, you're writing, you just, type along and write along, and the words come across. And these are the 4 phases we talk about, from not knowing something to knowing something so well that it becomes instinctive.